Yeah, I see that. And I forgot to put in the roll in. Hold on. As we talk to the people, we are live. Go ahead and talk because
Oh,
we're
hell yeah.
live while I find the roll in. Tell them what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Oh, everything under the sun. We got recap from last week. Is there a schism? We're not really going to talk about that. Um, Preview for this week. We got lightning round back. We got
Cool.
me back. It'll be a fun
Cool.
show.
There's Mary. And now we're going to hit the
Mary's
roll
already
in.
here.
Welcome to Vikings Happy Hour, where we mix our favorite beverage and talk of your Minnesota Vikings.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour. I am Matt Anderson, and I am your host. I'm sorry, my cat is wanting to make an appearance tonight.
He's
I am
trying to do
joined
a
by my.
form tackle.
I know. It's throwing me off. I mean, I've been out of the game here for a week and a half, and now I got to deal with that right off the start of the show. All right. Well, anyway, welcome to Vikings Happy Hour. I'm your host, Matt. You can find me on Twitter, Matt Anderson _8, and I'm here with my co-host, Ryan. You can find him on Twitter, Sports Guy Rye, and producer Dave. I'm not even going to begin to say your Twitter handle. It's like
It's
you,
Luft
you-
Krieger, which in Norse translates to air warrior.
oh,
I love it.
well, that's cool. I didn't ever know that. I was always wondering why is
Mm-hmm.
why is your handle that, but now we know. So, first and foremost, Ryan, thank you for holding down the fort last week. It was about this time last week where I was just getting back from a little road trip. So you and Crockett and Dave, you did well. I may need to
Thanks.
just
Yeah,
tweet more
I
often.
do not envy being in your seat. I'd much rather just being, be the one getting asked questions than actually trying to pace the show. And I mean, I think we went about 10, 15 minutes over. So, but no, it was a good time.
20,
I had a
30.
great time. I think Crockett did a great job. Of course, Dave
Yeah,
always does. So, would definitely love to, anytime you need somebody to step into that host chair, host number one chair, I more than happy to do it. It was a good time.
I appreciate that. I have to address Vikings Rome's comment already. He's calling me out uh, for wearing a Diggs Bills jersey on a Vikings Happy Hour show. But you know what? Ryan gets to talk about his Oklahoma Sooners from time to time, so I just get to strut my fandom for Stephon Diggs. So it is what it is. You can be unhappy about it, but don't worry, I'll get a Jefferson or Kendricks jersey at some point. So anyway, before we get talking about Vikings, I have two comments. First is I thought I improved my camera. I feel like it looks better, but then I look at Dave's camera and his looks better as well. So I just feel like I can't ever catch up to that level of
Oh, and
camera that
mine's
you
not
have.
even close to where I want it to be. And I had a box light go out. People can see on my left, right? The viewer's right. My face is darker, right?
Yeah.
It's more in shadow because I have a box light up there that I use, and it went out during last night's show. And I think I don't think it's the bulb. I think it's the receptacle on the back. But I've got to troubleshoot and fix that. No, if you want to go camera, we need to talk about 4K,
All right. Well,
and
we'll
then
talk about it after the show then.
then we'll really crank this quality up.
um, I was gonna dive right into Vikings. Ryan, I'd be remiss if I didn't let you have about 2 minutes to just talk about your Sooners and the comeback last weekend. So go ahead.
I'll be quick. I it was a very frustrating weekend actually. I had a big win prediction for the Sooners to stomp the Longhorns. Horns down always. However, they were actually getting whooped. I was talking to Dave. Within 2 minutes, they were down 14-0. Shortly thereafter, they were down 28-7. Halftime, 38-20. It was just not great. But Lincoln Riley finally wised up, took out Spencer Rattler, put in Caleb Williams, just lit a spark under that team. They were playing excited. They were playing passionate. He was a fiery competitor in that game. A lot of big time throws, giving his receivers a chance to make a 50-50 play, and they did. Marvin Mims was the hero of the game outside of Caleb Williams, and erased that deficit, that 21-point deficit, the 18-point deficit at halftime, to win by 6-7. I think it was 55-48. So big time win. But similarly, you think you're going to crush a team. Just like I thought the Vikings were going to crush the Lions, and we're actually, I did, just to try to play a little devil's advocate. I did say that we would win by a narrow margin. I think I said 8 points on the show last week, but I really did think we were going to crush them, and to win by the hair on our nutsack, basically. That was a bad game, and it was a very
Yeah.
frustrating Sunday. So, where at least Saturday was very frustrating, a lot of swear words in the house that erupted into excitement and happiness. I couldn't even be that excited after the Vikings game. It was just a brutal loss. So, it was a brutal win, I should
Brutal,
say.
brutal
Win. Yeah,
victory. Yes.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's talk a little bit more about that. I know I have been the homerist of homers on this show and amongst Climb in the Pocket when we look at score predictions. I felt very confident that Zimmer would blow out a not even mediocre team. I mean, they just suck. And Ryan will probably disagree a little bit because he thinks they have a little bit of fight in them. Um, but what I'll say is in the past, and I think somebody in our Climb in the Pocket chat said this too, but Zimmer has beaten up on these crappy teams, right? Like that's what's really stood out. Like he's kind of hung with like the middle of the road teams. Sometimes he can compete with the upper dogs, but when it comes to the lower tier of the NFL, Zimmer kicks their ass. And it was a little nerve-wracking to not see that this past weekend. Now, his defense did great outside of maybe the 2-minute defense uh, in both halves. That's just been their bugaboo all season long. Um, but back to the game itself, I do think the defense played well. Um, I don't know, Ryan. What's going on with our offense right now? This team can never click on all cylinders, and if they could just do it at one time, they'd be such a good team. But they just can't.
Yeah, honestly, I'm dumbfounded. I'm not sure what it is. Obviously, we on the show last week, I did do a little thing called Trend or Mirage, a new
Mm,
added thing to our lightning round, and I asked the guys, um, is Kirk's game 2 and 3 and Clint Kubiak's game 2 and 3, and I think I said the O line's game 2 and 3. Are those trend or are those like trend or mirage or whatever terminology I use? And everyone seemed to think that the weeks 2 and 3 were the real Vikings, right?
yeah,
And it's showing to not be the case. It's showing that weeks 1 and 4, and I'm not talking Kirk here. I don't think Kirk himself played poorly. He didn't play great. He did fine. Like I think he did what we asked him to do. I think it's the play calling. I think it's Clint Kubiak or Mike Zimmer, whoever you want to place blame on. That we got the lead and we are comfortable with that, and we are ready to just kind of ride it out. And we weren't going for the kill shot. And unfortunately, you can't do that against hungry teams. So again, you had mentioned the Lions are a bad team. Yes, they are. They're a bad team, but they're a proud team. They're a team that has a lot of fight in them. They're a team
yeah,
that isn't going to just go away. I mean, you look at all the teams they've faced right now. The 49ers they lost to. They were down big and they came back to only lose by 8. Again, it's still a decent margin, but they came back. You have the Baltimore Ravens, who just had a miraculous comeback themselves. They were 66-yard field goal away from beating the Baltimore Ravens, who by all accounts are one of the top teams in the league. They put up a big fight against the Packers in the first half of their game, the game that they played. And yeah, I think they got kind of whooped up by the Bears. I think it was the week before they played us. But they have fight in them, and they have and they're hurt. I mean, we played a team that was out 2 starting offensive linemen, their best or second best pass rusher, their top 2 or 3 cornerbacks. I mean, they were depleted, and they almost beat a Dalvin Cookless and Michael Pierceless team, Vikings team that's supposed to, again, by all accounts, by Vikings Twitter, this was supposed to be a minimum a playoff team, if not, aspirations to reach a Super Bowl. I think a lot of us had our expectations tempered there a little bit, but there were some in this fan base that fully expected the Super Bowl. So and I think I said this in our Climbing the Pocket group chat. If I'm a Lions fan right now, I'm more proud of my team than the Vikings fans should be of theirs. I know they lost. They didn't win the game, but they put up a fight and they almost beat a team that they had no business in beating, right? And sure, a
yeah,
win's a win. I get it, but and I'm not a big moral victory guy, but if I'm a Lions fan with the roster that team has, for them to compete with our team is that's inexcusable for Mike Zimmer and staff, because I don't think I put the blame on the players. I don't think that this was a player issue this week. I think it was 100% a coaching issue.
yeah. And it's all about expectations, right? Like our expectations are playoffs, whereas the expectations of the Detroit Lions is let's just upset some teams this year and throw their season out of whack. And they almost did it to us, right? Like everybody, I feel like a couple weeks ago in the final score, Dave was talking about how Zimmer had uh, his butt cheeks clenched a little bit when it came to how the game was going. I think all of the players and all the coaches on the sideline were, yeah, they were nervous. Zimmer had to have been fearful for his job had he lost that game. I saw
Absolutely.
Doogie come out with it this week, just replying to somebody on Twitter, and he said fans' expectations are high. The expectations within that building are higher, which to me says a lot about how hot Mike Zimmer's seat actually is. When the season kind of started, I thought, you know what, get to the playoffs. Um, you could probably get one win and be safe. I don't think that's the case. I think they saw what happened in New Orleans a couple years. I think the owners kind of got wooed by the, crazy finish with Thielen and Rudolph and whatnot. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it. I'm going off on a different tangent here, but it kind of surprises me if the expectations are so high within the Vikings organization that they'd wave the white flag as many times as they do within games. Zimmer is not being as aggressive as I thought he would be this season. There have been a couple instances, but I mean, even think about, you know, when Greg Joseph missed that 49-yard field goal, right? Uh, that's an opportunity right there where I think it was like 4th and 4. You could just go for it and continue to drain the clock, maybe score a touchdown, whatever. But what ends up happening is they missed the field goal. We all know what happened the rest of the game. So that part is kind of surprising me this year is Zimmer's lack of aggressiveness. And I hope, and I feel like I say this so many times, I hope this is a wake-up call for this team, right? You almost
Yeah.
lost to the Lions. And we saw the exchange on the sideline. Some fans wanted to say that it was a fight between Zim and Kirk. I think, if anything, it was relief for both of them, combined with some excitement with the fact that they actually won. But I hope I was listening to Pat McAfee's podcast the other day, and he's like, hopefully this just rips the lid off, right, for this Vikings team, and they can put it all together now and realize, hey, we need to play better. There were too many mistakes this past weekend. Mainly, offensively, there were obviously one. I'll let you speak to the offensive side of the ball, but I want to talk quickly about special teams, the mistakes on special teams that we had. Um, Greg Joseph missing a 49-yard field goal short, that's rare. I mean, I've seen shanks left and right, but to come up short after you've been nailing 50-yarders, that's a little weird to me. But the other thing that really drove me nuts is Amir Abdullah returning kicks. There was one for sure that was going out of bounds that he fielded, and I think we took the ball at like the 20. And then I
I
think
think it was like the 15. It was like the 15, actually.
yeah,
It's bad. It was
horrible.
such a bad decision. Yeah.
And I know you like D.D. Westbrook. I think he had a bad punt return, right? He just kind of misjudged it. And it was a boom of a punt, so it's hard for me to say like what you should and shouldn't do there.
Well, it was
But
within. It was, I think, within like the 8-yard line or something like that. And I know with anything within the 5, they kind of leave it up to judgment because, in theory, that ball is supposed to fly, bounce out of the back of the end zone. But obviously, that was just a hell of a punt.
yeah,
Granted, at that point, maybe try to fair catch it. But I mean, you don't want him fielding that punt and then doing what he did a couple weeks ago, which he lost like 4 yards and Vikings Twitter lost their damn mind. Like, it's just a tough call. You have to make a decision, and I'm not saying he made the right one, but I think technically by the book, he did the right move. Like, let it have an opportunity to bounce out of the end zone, because either way, you're going to
yeah,
be stuck right there. But yeah,
yeah. Daniel brings up a good point. Field awareness, right? You need to know where you're looking. Um, Kaya asked a question in the comments, and I'm going to leave that question to you. But do you think it would have been better for the team overall if we lost on Sunday and Zimmer lost his job?
I mean, long term, I don't know. Zimmer's going to lose his job regardless, right? Like, he's not going to keep his job unless we make a run into the playoffs. And at this point, we just got through, I think, our easiest part of our schedule. Now we have the hardest remaining schedule left in the NFL right now. So I can't imagine we're going to make it through this gauntlet with our heads above water. I think he's done. Now, would it be better to just kind of, take him out to the pasture and let him go now? I don't know what value you're going to get out of that. I'm a big proponent of it, I guess, just because then we can get a head start on what we're looking for next on this next go around. There's a lot of very intriguing names out there that really get me excited as a fan of who we can potentially go grab. But you can't really talk to anyone until the end of the year anyway. So it all kind of doesn't really matter. So would it have been better for us to lose and start that train now? Maybe more or less just from a draft pick perspective. I think we probably would start trying to throw in the towel a little bit and, maybe see what we have out of some of these younger guys, which would be better for us in terms of the future. But at the same time, you got guys like Anthony Barr, who's in his last year with the team. You have guys who likely might be on their last year of the team anyway, that, you want to give them your best effort, I think. And they owe that to us, and we probably owe that to them.
Yeah, and I don't want to get like too bleak about the future, but I think regardless of how this year ends, I think fans should be ready for potentially a very worse season next year. I mean, we have a lot of people on 1-year contracts. The whole staff could look different. Front office could look different. I mean, there would be some complete overhaul changes coming next year, and so that's why I say, like, for this season, like, I think everyone kind of is reading between the lines, but just embrace the Vikings this year as much as you can, right? And have fun with it. This doesn't need to be I told you so, like some fans were doing after the first couple weeks with Kirk and his stats, or we're all fans of this team. We all ultimately want to see a Super Bowl, but I think we should really just take a hold of what we have right now and embrace it, because I think the future does look pretty bleak, barring some big surprise or Kellen Mond being the next, Patrick Mahomes or whatnot.
And I don't think the future needs to look that bleak, though. Just from a perspective of, our offense is pretty set in stone right now. I mean, almost everyone is going to set to return next year outside of Udo, I think, is on the last year of his deal, if I'm not mistaken. Outside of that, I think everyone else is under contract for 2022. So offense should look the same. I mean, maybe look entirely different from a schematic perspective, but should look the same from a personnel perspective. Defense is going to look much different. Now, could that be absolutely awful? Yes, it could be. Could it be more of the same? It's not like this defense is dominating right now. We're going to have Hunter. We're going to have Kendricks. We're likely going to have Harrison Smith. He signed that new contract, and we're going to have Tomlinson. So, we're going to have those core staples, and then we're going to need to fill in around them, just like we did essentially this year. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be bleak, but it is going to be different. And that's because we will have a new coaching staff at minimum, and likely maybe a new GM. So we'll see. But to go back to the Lions game real quick here, let's go back to Zimmer quick, because you had said you're hoping him to be more aggressive. And I think you had kind of mentioned a couple of fourth down things. It's more than just fourth down. It's more than just going for it on fourth and 5 in the opponent's side of the field. It's just having an aggressive mindset throughout the whole game plan. It's letting Kirk cook, so to speak, right? And letting him air the ball out, letting him make those deep passes, letting him, when we're up 14, try to get up by 21, try to get up by 28, try to get up by 35. It doesn't matter if there's a lot of time or a little time left. Be aggressive and try to win that game and try to put your opponent in their place. There's zero reason why we should have been playing the offensive game plan we had when we had that lead against the Lions this week. We should have been airing it out. Their weakest part of their defense is their secondary, and we did not do that in the second half. Justin Jefferson fell off the face of the earth in the second half, and that's not his fault. He was open. We just weren't throwing those passes. We weren't calling those plays. We weren't scheming up those matchups. We were running the ball, and we were playing conservative. And that's what I think you mean, and what we all want to see out of this game plan going forward is And you even heard it last night, or not last night, 2 nights ago, or whenever it was, with the Colts. They did the same thing, and
Yeah.
look what happened to them, right? Like, and the coach called himself out on that, which I don't think Zimmer or Clint would probably do, or I don't know, maybe they did, but I think that we need to have more of a holistic, aggressive mindset versus just a situational fourth down. Let's go for it. No, just pedal to the metal until you truly don't need to. And I
Yeah.
don't know when that number is, but if that's a 35-point lead, then that's a 35-point lead.
Yeah. Couple more points on the game last week, and then we'll move along to the preview of the Vikings versus the Panthers. Dave, I don't know if you're there right now. If you want to come out and talk about Christian Darrisaw for a little bit, it's an offensive lineman, so I know you get excited about him, and we have good ones now. So,
I do.
what are your takeaways for Christian Darrisaw on Sunday?
He has sand in his pants. I love it. Watching him on tape, there were a few things I would tweak, but for the most part, his balance is good. When defensive ends try to come up on him, he has good hand placement, usually stunned them,
Yep.
right? They did not get through him. There was no power rush through him whatsoever. He didn't end up on his ass like Rashad Hill did again last week. There's room for improvement, but there's also, just by the viewing of those reps, and I think there was only about a dozen of them, and most of them were pass reps versus run reps. He was so much better,
Yeah.
and he kept his side. Nobody came close to Kirk Cousins on his side except for when Kirk rolled into him. That was it. He didn't let anybody by. I want, just like some of the viewers here have talked about, some of the people in the chat, I want to see him start. I want to see him start this weekend.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll get it this weekend. I still think that it's going to be a rotation this weekend, and then I think coming out of the bye, I think you see him start full time. I don't agree with that. I think I think what we saw last week proves that he's kind of ready to go and should just be learning on the fly with in-game experience. One thing that stood out to me was even when a defensive lineman came in and kind of gave him a little push, his ability to kind of bend and reestablish his position.
He had anchor.
And still just keep those defensive linemen away from Kirk Cousins. I think it's very reminiscent of when Rashad Hill went down in the Packer game 4 years ago, and Brian O'Neill came in limited pass reps, and since that point, Brian O'Neill has improved tremendously to the point that we just gave him a huge contract extension. He's our right tackle of the future. I saw a lot of similar things with Christian Darrisaw on the left side, and I really do hope that he turns out to be that cornerstone over there.
And I think he will be. And I think it is time now. I mean, as soon as, I think it was Trey Flowers, is that his name?
Last week?
Yeah, Trey Flowers bull rushed Hill and made him, pancake the hell out of him, flapjack, and then sacked Kirk. That should have been the end of it. Darrisaw was playing well. He should have stayed in the game the rest of the time, which I think he did after that series. But we shouldn't see Rashad Hill anymore unless there's an injury.
He didn't. They alternated.
Even after that, I couldn't remember.
They alternated. And if he, like I've gone on previous shows, he should know the playbook by now. Now, granted, he's going to be slow. He's still thinking. He's not in the automatic mode yet. And it shouldn't be endurance either. At this point, stick him out there for a whole game. Yeah, if he gets gassed, replace him for Hill for a few snaps. But he shouldn't be at that point. He's young. He's a rookie. He should be able to handle this. And not a better game to start than this weekend. The edges for the Panthers aren't that good. They're not.
Yeah.
like
Well,
playing a couple
Brian
weeks ago.
Burns is one of the best, and Brian Burns is one of the best in the league. But he'll be matched up, I think, if I remember correctly, he's more of a left defense end, so he'll match up against our right tackle, Brian O'Neill. And their right defensive end, I don't think is great, like you had said, Dave. If I remember, it's like Morgan Fox or something like
Or
that. And
Hassan
I
Riddick,
know last Son Reddick, yeah, and I think he plays more of like
outside linebacker.
a linebacker, yeah, outside linebacker who
Yeah.
rushes quite a bit.
But
And then they have
Burns is
like
only
Gross.
Burns has only got a 54.6 overall rating on PFF.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
Burns.
too worried about that per se. I mean, I just know the talent that guy has. He's incredible. He's an incredible player, and then they have Gross Matos, I think is how you say his name, from Penn State, second year player. Again, he hasn't shown much to be anything really this year that I know of, but I don't like discrediting players on the other teams
True.
when I know that they have potential. We did that against the Bengals and they ripped us up, right? So and Brian Burns is a hell of a player, but you're right, Dave. This is the great time to do it because this is a good defense. So
Yeah,
you're
but he's not
regardless
going
if they
against
have
Myles
good.
Garrett, is what
He's
I'm
not going
saying.
against Myles Garrett. Yep, exactly. He's not going against the elite of the elite, and it's a good opportunity for us to put our best player in there, though. I mean, that's a good defense, regardless if they have a good defensive end on that side. They'll scheme things away to make it happen, and you need your best players out there at all times.
And plus,
especially
he's
against
going to
a
have an
defense
extra
like this.
week to rest if he's tired afterwards.
Yep,
Yeah, that is true.
exactly.
Um, nice job on the just natural transition into the next portion of the show, you two. So let's just continue on that. You just talked about the defensive line of the Panthers kind of against our offensive line, particularly just the edge rushers against maybe O'Neill and Hill, but you did bring up Gross Matos. I think interior, I'm just kind of looking here. Morgan Fox is one of their defensive tackles along with Derek Brown. But Bradbury, Udo, and Cleveland have proven, through 5 games to be what we've asked for the last 3 years, which is average. And it's been fine. But overall, from an offense versus defense perspective, how do you think the Vikings offense is going to do this weekend against this defense? I think, I want to give you credit because when we talked about that first game this year with the Bengals, we all kind of called them schmucks, maybe, kind of looked over them. Ryan was the voice of reason on this show, kind of telling us, hey, I wouldn't sleep on these guys. They may not be household names, but they're still good. So I'm going to tap into that expertise again before I make an opinion here, Ryan. Tell us a little bit about what we have this weekend. Are there household names we should watch for? Are there guys that we maybe don't know that we should look for?
Yeah, I mean, so we have our hands full. I think again. I mean, this is collectively this is a really good defense. Now, do they have a ton of nationally known names? No, because they're not a nationally known team because they're not as good as a Baltimore Ravens or Kansas City Chiefs. But their defense is good, and they did do really well against us last year. I mean, we ended up winning the game, but actually, I think their defense scored all the touchdowns against us. Jeremy Chin specifically. So we'll start there. He's their kind of roaming safety. He kind of plays a jack of all trades, linebacker, safety. He'll rush the passer, kind of like a Jamal. Or what's his name? Jamal Adams. Is that his name? Yeah, from the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. Except for, in my opinion, better because he's a better coverage guy on the back end. So we'll start there. They have a revamped secondary. They had some injuries because they had brought on J.C. Horn, who is probably my favorite cornerback in the last 2 drafts. He broke his foot, so he's not going to be playing in this game. They traded for C.J. Henderson. They traded for Stephon Gilmore. He's not going to be ready to play yet. Henderson will be playing. Donte Jackson, I think. So the secondary is going to be good. Strong linebackers. Hassan Reddick's very good. Shaq Thompson's very good. I can't remember. I think there are other guys. Carter, he's a middle linebacker. I don't know much about him, so I'm not going to speak to him. But there are some holes here, right? So the right side of their defensive line is uninspiring, and their cornerbacks that aren't or that are healthy aren't great right now, right? So they have some guys banged up, and their other safeties, again, not the best safety in the world. They lost they lost their starter earlier this year. I forget his name off the top of my head, but yeah, they're down 3 corners right now. So we should be able to throw a keep saying that every week, that the secondary is banged up and we still don't take advantage. We should have been able to do that against the Browns. Didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Should have been able to do that last week. Didn't do it. Should have been able to do that week 1, and we didn't do it. So we really need to tailor our game plan around that. I don't think we're going to get a lot of rush opportunities here. One, because our offensive line hasn't been doing great in the run blocking as it is, but they do have Derek Brown. I think he's a phenomenal defensive tackle. And then you have Brian Burns there as well. So as you look at the matchups there, we should be able to, favorably compete against them in the air. I think they have AJ Bouye, GMAC. Again, I think he's been hurt, so I don't know how up to speed he is as of right now. But so that's the defense there. I think they collectively play well together. They're well coached than they are big name guys. So similar to, I guess, kind of how the Bengals have been this year, because that defense has been better this year. So we need to be on our P's and Q's. Honestly, I think it's going to be a low scoring game, similar to the Browns game or even to last week. I think it's going to be a low scoring game.
You bring up passing again, something that we probably should have done better last week, the week before, and even versus the Bengals. And I don't know if it's and maybe you can help me out here. I don't know if it's just more of the play calling from Clint Kubiak and being conservative, like we already kind of addressed this game, but they are. I just went and checked. They are the 3rd best passing offense in the NFL, only behind the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Seattle Seahawks. So I know that.
And by what metrics is that, Matt?
What do you mean?
Like just yardage or efficiency or
overall passing grade? I guess I don't know what specifically goes into PFF's.
So it's just the grade.
Of
okay.
That.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. But now I lost my train of thought here. I think what I was going to say though is, I know Zimmer likes to sort of, be that run first offense, run to set up the pass, the play action, etc. But I think that this is an opportunity. We saw it way back in the day, back when God, what's the old offensive coordinator's name that was here with Frazier? Anyway, Darrell Bevel. We saw it with Darrell Bevel a lot, right? And it was a way to kind of give Christian Ponder back in the day that confidence. You just come out and you just start firing, right? Get in a rhythm with your quarterback, start throwing. I want to see that this weekend, right? We know the pass game's good. We got weapons. KJ Osborne has proven to be a good wide receiver 3. I think Dede Westbrook's even stepped up a few times here. You got Jefferson and Thielen. Conklin's done well. I'd love to see if Herndon can do anything, but that's
he can't.
We can talk for a whole hour on that.
The thing is, no, Herndon can though. That's the thing is Herndon can if we give him the opportunity.
We've thrown him the ball 3 times. And I think he's dropped it all 3.
I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I just know the talent that I've seen him play with with the Jets. He is a good playmaker when he's given the opportunities. Again, that could have all fallen off, Dave.
And it could be chemistry issue. Who knows?
Yeah.
But the trade for Herndon has turned to be garbage because he hasn't produced squat.
Death, taxes, and a horrible overreaction trade by Rick Spielman a couple weeks before the season. You can just count on all 3 of those things.
Absolutely. To your point, though, Matt, I think what you were getting to is, should we be looking at trying to pass the ball more since we have an efficient PFF grade? Now, let me just address the PFF grade. the PFF grade does not gauge how it grades how well we're like completing passes and hitting the mark. It doesn't grade for the situational stuff, right? So it's not grading for the fact that, yes, we completed the 8-yard pass when we needed 10 yards to go, right?
Yeah.
That does nothing for us offensively. And that was week one. Week one, Kirk's stat line looked great. I mean, he missed a handful of passes, high completion percentage, had, I think, 2 touchdowns, should have had a third with the Jefferson touchdown. So, it's going to look great, but he dinked and dunked his way to a good stat line, and it wasn't in what I would grade as like a great passing day. Similarly to with the even like last week, he played fine and he completed passes and whatnot.
Yeah.
He just, but we're not winning with that, right? Where week 3, or was that week 3? The Seahawks, we were pushing the ball down the field. We were getting the ball into our playmakers. Sure, he missed a couple more passes than he typically would. I don't care about your completion percentage. I do, but like I don't care as if your completion percentage is 75 versus 65. If that 65, you're taking those deep shots, you're being more aggressive, and you're going for the win essentially, right? If you're going for the 3rd and 10 and you throw it 12 yards downfield versus 8 yards and hope that your guy gets the extra 2, right? So yes, PFF grade, sure, we're very good, right? But from what I want to see out of this team, I don't think it's quite the same. And Clint Kubiak, I think, is more to blame than it is Kirk, because of the way that we're scheming up how we're doing this. He did a really good job those weeks 2 and 3 of utilizing more, movable pockets, play action passes, pre-snap motions. And I know we're still doing it, but we're just not doing it enough in these last couple of weeks, and it's hurt us, especially against Cleveland and those really strong pass rushers. So, yes, I agree. We should utilize this efficient and effective offense or passing offense to throw more. I think we just need to do it in a more effective way, which is downfield and pass the sticks, because we have the receivers to do it.
Today, Phil Mackey on Purple Daily, pretty sure that was the show it was on, was talking about a particular stat that measures that. It says a pass on first down is expected to go minimum, to be successful, a successful pass rate or distance is expected to go X number of yards. It may have been 4 yards, right? On third down is expected to go 6 yards, or 75% of the distance. Or on second down. And on third down, it's supposed to go beyond the sticks to get a first down.
It's got to be 100%. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And if it doesn't get that 100% to get that first down, it's marked as it's not a successful pass. And in that metric, Kirk Cousins was third from the bottom because he dinks and dunks. Last season on one of the In the Raw shows, I was railing on Kirk, and Ted and Drew were like, why, Dave? He threw for 29 out of 31 passes or 32 passes. And I said, yes, but not a single one. There was one pass that went beyond 10 yards, and none of them went further than that. And they were like, no, but he keeps complete passes. He's good. No, he's not getting the distance we need to get first downs and continue drives. That is a successful offense, passing offense. And that, I believe, falls not necessarily on because yes, maybe Kirk is partially to blame if he's going, well, there's 2 high safeties, I'm not throwing over there. That's a problem when you're throwing to the best receiver in all of football or close to it. But if
but like to your point, Dave, you do need to make smart decisions, right? If you have 2 high safeties, you don't want to,
you don't want to just shotgun it out there.
Right. Yeah, you're right. But
you also need to know
advantage of the times where they come out of that, and they don't do that. They stick to the game plan, which is dinking and dunking.
Even with that, even if you're using JJ as the decoy to run the safeties out, then run somebody over the middle or in a crosser that is at the sticks or just beyond the sticks, and have that guy your primary target versus the 2-yard dump off to CJ Ham or the screen 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage to Adam Thielen or Conklin or whomever who instantly gets picked up by the cornerback. That's what we're saying. You got to. This is all part of either Kirk execution or the planning of Clint Kubiak telling him, you've got to change who you're looking at as your keys and go for these plays. This is where it's designed to be open to get us these first downs. Period. This is where you go. Last resort is that little dump off pass, right? But that's not your primary. That should be your third or fourth option. And that's what we're not seeing. And that's what I think, Ryan, pardon me, but I think that's what you're trying to say is that is exactly not what we're not seeing. Mary asks, why can't they figure this out? David, Mary, I'll talk to you off the line on that one.
Yeah, I have to interrupt. I love the passion. We got to keep this show moving.
Yeah.
This is where I wanted to start lightning round, but there's still two things I want to kind of touch on for this preview. And I also have like a million other thoughts going through my head because I saw Ryan pour a drink. We didn't talk about drinks tonight. Ryan's drinking Four Roses. I was drinking Four Roses, so my mind's kind of blown there. Dave, quick, what were you drinking tonight?
Carbach Hopadilla. Let me get there. It's got a little armadillo.
All right.
IPA. It's not bad. It's part of the 18-pack or the 12-pack I get for $15.50, which is a great price. It's very good IPAs. It's a mixture.
There you go.
3 of each, and I can't beat the price, so I'm going to stick with it with the price.
Okay.
Until they go back up.
I was drinking Four Roses, and then I switched to McGolden, so I hit my classy and my trashy tonight.
Well, Ryan can feel free to send me a bottle of that small batch. I have not tried that small batch. I love Four Roses.
It's good.
But
small batch is the best one. So they have 3 main bottles they sell in liquor stores. They got the regular Four Roses, they got small batch, and they got single barrel. Single barrel is a little spicier. It's good, but it's a little more potent. The regular Four Roses is solid. It's just a good, cheap, everyday. But small batch is you can drink this every day, and you can really enjoy it without any ice, just neat.
It's a good sipping whiskey.
Delicious. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Dave, you
and
come
affordable.
up here.
It's like $30.
Joseph, I haven't drank Lone Star beer since college, and that was back in the early 80s.
To keep. Man, I just wish we could keep talking about all this stuff for hours.
Hey, I got plenty of time. I'll buy more if we need to.
I don't want to keep the show too long tonight. But for people in the chat, before we get to lightning round, I forgot one.
Captain Morgan.
I've had many trips with Captain myself, and most end in the bathroom. So
Raymond's doing a aperitif, Bailey's.
The one thing I want to ask people in the chat to do quickly, because I left it out of my lightning round, is if you could just I'll pick 2 of them, but if you could just like come up with a headline for Sunday's game or Monday's paper,
Joseph.
I would say. If you could just put a comment in there and say, this is what's going to be the headline on Monday, and then we'll react to it when we get to lightning round. Ryan, real quick, in like 3 minutes, I want you to talk about 2 things. The Vikings DBs containing the Panthers weapons, because the biggest name we haven't even talked about yet is Christian McCaffrey, whether or not he does or does not play. I think we should still address that. The second thing I want you to talk about, it's really the opposite side of what we just talked about for passing first, but is this the game where we should really pound the rock? Because the Panthers are one of the worst teams in tackling, and if Dalvin's healthy and ready to roll, he's the most one of, if not the most elusive running backs in the NFL. And I don't know if you could take him down if you're the worst tackling team in the NFL. So hit on those 2 points, and then Dave, let's fire up this music.
All right, so real quick, I think McCaffrey does play. I think he was close to playing last week, actually, and they decided to hold him out to wait for this week. Or not even just to wait for this week, but just give him one more week to get healthy. he's going to be a handful for us. We have one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL in Eric Kendricks. And so that helps. But we typically struggle against pass catching backs, and he's the best of the bunch. So a healthy McCaffrey is going to get a healthy 10 targets out of the backfield, and plus his ability to run the ball effectively, where our run defense has not been great. I mean, even the Lions kind of ran it up on us a little bit. The Seahawks did. Obviously, the Browns did. So we need to be able to mitigate that. But when you do that, you have to worry about him out of the backfield as well, which is, again, just a handful. So that's going to be tough, number one. Number two, DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a phenomenal receiver. He doesn't get the flowers that he deserves because, again, he hasn't had the best QB play in the world. And since he's been with Carolina. However, he's a very effective route runner, very twitchy, and he's tough to take down. He's kind of like a running back built into a receiver. So he's phenomenal hands. I think he's a phenomenal receiver. And then you have this deep threat in Robbie Anderson. I don't know much about Terrace Marshall. I expected a lot out of him coming out of LSU, but I haven't heard much about him so far in terms of his NFL career. So I'm not going to sweat him too much. I think really our main three focus needs to be CMC, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. And then, in a group chat we were talking earlier, they have an up-and-coming tight end. I don't think he is somebody that we definitely need to worry about, but Tommy Tremble,
you're talking about Tom? Okay.
Yeah, he's coming into his own. Again, he's splitting a lot of the reps with Ian Thomas, and now that Dan Arnold is out of town, he got shipped down to Jacksonville for CJ Henderson. He's getting more opportunities, and granted, he's not doing anything spectacular, but he's catching touchdowns. And he had a really good game 2 weeks. He had a really good game, I think, 2 weeks ago. And not really good, but he had a couple big catches and one of them for a touchdown. So another red zone threat that we have to worry about on top of Moore, Anderson, and McCaffrey. So
and of course you got Chuba Hubbard.
And then whenever you have McCaffrey out, you do have Hubbard, who is an effective downhill runner. He can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. A significant downgrade. We do want Hubbard in the game as much as possible versus McCaffrey, but I think McCaffrey, if healthy, is going to get the full workload. In terms of our defense here, in terms of our offensive game plan, in terms of pounding the rock. Again, they have effective linebackers.
60 seconds.
Yeah, they have effective linebackers. They have a couple of really strong defensive linemen. I think we can run the ball on them. However, I think our path of least resistance is going to be through the air. Yes. Even though they are a opportunistic team out in terms of picking the ball and causing those turnovers that way, if we game plan appropriately, I think we can utilize Jefferson and Thielen to our advantage against these cornerbacks. However, when you do have Dalvin Cook, you got to feed him the rock a little bit because he is one of the best backs in the game when healthy. So,
boom. Thank you. That was perfect. That was very speedy. Just how we needed it.
I tried.
I see a few headline comments in there. If people can give a few more, then I'll pick from those when we get to there. But it's now my new favorite time of the week. It's the lightning round, Dave. Hit the music. Doesn't that just get you pumped up? Can we just keep that on repeat till the show ends? I'm a horrible host. I didn't go back and pull last week's records. Do you remember any offhand, Ryan?
I don't. I didn't keep track of it at all, so that's on me. Okay. I should have. I think we were all very optimistic, and I don't think we did a great job in terms of what ended up happening, because we thought, Dalvin Cook would get a lot of yards. He didn't end up playing. We thought that Kirk was going to throw for a ton of touchdowns. He didn't end up doing that. We thought that we were going to contain. Actually, I thought Swift would get loose on us a little bit, which he did. Dave and Crockett definitely thought we'd mitigate that. So yeah, we had a couple of those things, but that's about it. I mean, we did not do a great job last week on the over-under.
I think we did beat the sack total, though.
We did do the sack total for both Hunter and for the rest of the team.
The whole team.
We did get correct. Yep.
All right. Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's Vikings Happy Hour lightning round. I will do a better job next week of coming back to this show and giving everybody feedback. But here we go. Ryan, we're going to start with you here. It's the over-under section. Danielle Hunter, 2.5 sacks this weekend. He's going up against right tackle Taylor Monton. Monton or Monton? Either way.
Moton, yeah. I don't know. I'm going to go under. I think he's an effective right tackle. Hunter is on a tear right now, and I do think he gets a sack, but I don't think he gets 3. So I'm going to go with.
All right. Dave, moving over to you. The Vikings defense, 1.5 interceptions. We saw Eric Kendricks with one last week. Harrison probably should have had one.
Mm-hmm. He dropped it.
What do you think?
I'll go over. They're due.
Okay.
They're gelling. They're getting better and better week by week.
All right. Ryan, switching right back to you here. Kirk Cousins, passer rating over or under 98.5. I will say his first 3 games were over, and his last 2 games have been under. So take that for what it's worth.
Until Clint Kubiak can prove to me that he can come up with a good game plan that's going to effectively put Kirk in a position to go over on that, like he did in week 2 and 3, I'm going to say under, especially against this defense.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Dave, last over and under, Adam Thielen, 4.5 receptions. He's only got 5 total in the last 2 games. Fans are starting to become irate.
Deservedly so. He's got to be targeted more. And that has to have been brought up to Clint and Kirk that, hey, second best receiver on the team who's a Pro Bowler is right over there. Throw him the damn ball. I'm going
So
over.
You're saying over then?
He's going to have a good day.
All right, let's switch over to buy, sell. We'll stick with. Well, no. We'll go back to Ryan because I love having Dave talk about O-line. Buy, sell, Ryan. Mike Zimmer, is he on the hot seat?
I'm selling all of my stock that I have in all of my different funds to buy that Mike Zimmer hot seat. I am buying all the Mike Zimmer is on the hot seat stock that I can. Yep.
All right. Dave, I know what the answer is going to be. You're going to go broke on this. But are you buying or selling Christian Darrisaw's debut?
Oh, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Now, whether it happens or not is a different question. I would buy it in a heartbeat. Do I think he will? Yes, I do think they will start him.
All right.
They still may do the rotation, but I do think he starts.
Sweet. Can you get that music going again?
Yeah.
That music's, I like it.
It just pumps me up, man. I don't know what it is. We talked about it earlier in the show, Ryan. First, it was the Vikings offense surging. Now it's the Vikings defense. They're not quite matching the level that they should be on to meet in the middle. But just sticking to the Vikings side of the ball, are you buying or selling the last couple weeks of the Vikings defense?
We played a good offense in week 4 in the Browns, even though Baker played completely awful. I don't think it was our defense that made him play awful. I think he just had an off day. Maybe a little bit. Bit. We're in his face a little bit, but he also was just missing. He was missing wide open throws as well, right?
That too.
And then last week we just played an awful offense. Like, they're not a good offense, and they still came down the field and scored. They scored 17 points on us. So I'm selling that. I don't think this defense is great. I think they will be better than the first couple weeks. I don't think they'll be as I don't think we're going to be holding teams to 14, 17 points on a weekly basis. I think we're going to be somewhere in the middle. I would love to. You're absolutely right. But I think we'll be somewhere in the middle. Like the first few weeks, we were like letting up like 30 some points a game or something like that, wasn't it? And then now we're letting up. I think the last 2 weeks just in the teens. I think we're going to average somewhere in the mid 20s.
Okay. Dave, last buy or sell here. Are you buying or selling Everson Griffin's resurgence? This has been cool. I mean, I called it out in the group chat when he signed him. I said he'd blow up again this year, and people were like, no,
you were right. I didn't think that was the case. I thought he was basically old and washed. But no, I'm buying it. He is back. He is comfortable. He is back in an environment that loves him. He is able to be Everson, and he looks 5 years younger, and he is playing it.
Yeah.
And as Andre Patterson said today in his presser, he's telling him, I've got to limit his snaps so he lasts all season. He goes, I tell you the guys in the press that so I can hear it myself. Because right now, how he's playing, I don't want him out. He did mention, though, he will always be in on nickel situations, which I found very fascinating.
Yeah. Well.
But I'm buying until we see otherwise, until he falls off, and that won't be probably until later in the season. But I'd rather have it later after we get through the gauntlet for now than right now. So I'm buying wholeheartedly.
All right.
Sack Daddy's back.
All right, so we have one more section before predictions. I know Ryan is getting his special guest ready. We don't have a guest this week, so Ryan's son is going to step in and hit us with his prediction this weekend. So I'm stoked for that. But before we get there, we had some headline comments. I'm going to use GMAC's second one because the first one I don't know how we'd talk about it. So the first one I'm going to give to you, Ryan. You wake up Sunday morning, open up Pioneer Press, and it says, "Sweet Carolina, Vikings right the ship against the Panthers." What happened?
We blew them out because that means that the offense and the defense both played up to par to the point where we righted the ship, right? It's always been one or the other playing well. All three phases of the game played well, and we won the game. Maybe not even a blowout, but a good team.
No, you said blowout.
Okay, sure. A blowout team win.
What's the definition of a blowout? 2 touchdowns or more?
10 points or more, yeah.
Dave, I will let you pick between the next two headlines. You can either choose Vikings enter the bye week at 500, courtesy of Joseph's leg, or Daniel gave us the Kurzim waiting out of mediocrity.
Kurzim waiting? I don't understand that second one.
Well, Kirk and Zimmer.
Right.
Combined.
What do you mean waiting out of? Like waiting out of water?
Yeah.
I would go with the second one. They're waiting out of mediocrity. They're getting better than just mediocre.
Okay. All right. There it is, folks. There's your headlines. Before we tie up this show here, we have predictions. We're going a little over, but I'll give you a quick recap on the season. I have the same record as your Minnesota Vikings and probably will throughout the rest of the regular season. I'm at 2-3. Ryan is at 3-2. The guest
3-2.
Yeah.
Am I at 3-2? I thought I was at 4-1.
No, you got one wrong, didn't you? Maybe I
got
looked at it wrong.
I got one wrong.
And you got mine wrong. I'm at 2-3.
All
right. Well, Ryan says he's at 4-1. Everybody. So well, the guests of the show, whether it's Mary, whether it's I forget all our other guests, Brandon, Crockett, whatever. That's 2-3. Dave is 2-3 as well. He took a sacrificial loss a couple of weeks ago, and so let's dive into this. I know we have somebody anxiously waiting to kind of talk about what he thinks the Vikings are going to do this week, and so here he is. Ryan's son is going to be our honorary guest of the week. He's got his Viking sweatshirt on. Let's go.
What a handsome young man.
What's up, buddy? What do you think the Vikings are going to do this weekend?
So we're going to score 24-17. The Vikings are going to score 24, and the Panthers are going to score 17.
All right, there it is.
All right.
A 24-17 victory by our guest of the week. He killed it.
He just ran, dove over the couch. He was nervous, but hey, that's a good prediction there.
That was a very good prediction, and I hope it comes true.
I'm just proud that he had like the scores somewhat right, like because I didn't tell him no scores, so he just came up to me. So that's a viable score, not like 5-1 or something like that.
It wasn't some outrageous like 58-12. You know, he knows his stuff, right?
He does.
You know, I'll go here.
He's a G-Mac.
I'm gonna try not to be as homery as I have been in the past. I know Vegas odds say this is a toss-up. I think it's like a 1-point spread, right? It's not.
And I think it's bounced back and forth.
Yeah, it's basically a pick'em game here. I think the Vikings win 20-18. It's going to be a weird. I feel a safety coming. Mark it here on this show. I called it. There's a safety coming this game. Jordan Berry's going to boot it deep. Everson Griffin's going to get it. And if that happens, I'll buy somebody a jersey. So there you go. Could be myself, but I'll buy someone one. Ryan, what do you got this weekend?
I've been going back and forth all day about this because I knew you were going to be asking, and I really haven't decided who. I have a score. I have 17-14. I just don't know who's going to be on the top there.
You want me to go to Dave first?
That's all right. They're in Carolina. They've lost a couple in a row. They're hungry to win. I'm going to go Panthers win 17-14.
Oh my gosh, Ryan.
Can't all be homers. We can't all be homers. I hope I'm wrong. Obviously, you guys know I want them to win. I don't purposely pick them to lose every week because I don't like the team. I love the team.
He's doing this sacrificial, and we'll go.
I'm not doing a sacrificial. I just don't know. I just don't believe in this specific team and this coaching. Until the coach can prove to me that they can call a good game plan, get the team to play good offensively, defensively, and on special teams. Until they can put the package together, when we play good teams, and better teams, this is just a good team. Lions are a bad team. This is a good team. A good team or a better team or a great team or an elite team.
Thank you, Joseph.
I'm gonna have to say that they're not winning these against good teams right now. So I'm gonna, until they show me they can do it, I'm gonna pick them to lose. So 17-14 Panthers.
You know what surprises me, Dave?
Apparently
Ryan's bias is only with the Oklahoma Sooners because everything else he just speaks the truth about. But when it comes to the Sooners, it's just like blinders up. They will always.
Hey, I'm realistic with them too. The issue is they play in a conference that's garbage for the most part, and they should be able to win every game. Now, when they get the college football playoff, my tune changes if they have to go up against Georgia or Alabama.
Dave, what do we got for a prediction from you?
I want to say the Vikings win.
Let's go.
I'm
going. 3 people got it right this week.
I'm going 27-17.
Okay.
Ooh, 10-point win. So that's a good win.
Vikings.
I hope you're right, Dave.
Hey, I hope I'm right too. But I think whether it be having a scripted second half coming out or whatever it is, I hope it works. And like everybody says, that the offense comes together and the defense comes together, and that we really don't have to rely on special teams. Yeah, if Joseph Head kicks a game winner, great. But I don't want him to kick a game winner. I want him to kick extra points because we're 2 touchdowns or better ahead.
I agree.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
100%. A win this weekend puts us at 500 right into the bye week. That's exactly what this team needs to make a little final push here before the gauntlet of the Cowboys, Ravens, Packers, Niners. I mean, it's coming, folks. So need to get this one, need to get on the right track, come out of that bye week strong. So this was
Hey,
fun.
real quick, I know we're
Yeah.
over time here, but quick
I know
shout
you're
out
going
to
to talk
my
about
wife.
the Sooners.
No. Quick shout out to my wife here. She hooked me up with this shirt.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
If you were to like know me as a person, guys, obviously I'm Sooners, Vikings. I think people know about Kanye, but golf and hip hop are probably my two like favorite things. So, so shout out to the wife for hooking me up with this shirt. She just surprised me with it yesterday. So, very
that's
happy
awesome.
about it.
Always keep the women in your life happy.
And of course, she got the Brandon, ready to come make that prediction tonight. So.
Ryan, 2 seconds. Joseph, he loves talking Sooners with you. Give us the score prediction this weekend.
If Caleb Williams plays, blowout, and I'm talking 18-point blowout. If they go back to Spencer Rattler, I think it's a close game if they go back to Spencer Rattler.
Woo.
Okay. I just brought up PFF's green line to look at the line.
Yeah.
They have the Panthers started out favored, but the betting line has moved it. Now the Vikings are favored by 1.
No, we want to be underdogs. Hopefully that changes by Friday.
So, just what it is. And Daniel said we have the best receivers they've seen yet. That is true. The easiest schedule in the league coming up, or the previous 4 games, has been, I believe, for the Panthers and Minnesota. Right? They both are right there. This should be a good test for Carolina and to see where we are against them. So, and I think we're better.
Well, I do too. Ryan's the only one that doesn't, so whatever. We'll revisit. Oh,
he needs more Four Roses.
That is true.
I get more and more negative the drunker and drunker I get. So,
for everybody, you guys lit up the chat tonight. That was fantastic. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I appreciate you guys listening along. We have a lot of shows still coming up, even into the bye week next week. I think, barring a Zimmer firing, Vikings Happy Hour will be taking a week off with the Minnesota Vikings just to kind of regroup. It's a long season, so we will probably be off next week. But for the rest of the crew, we got Flip and Eric back tomorrow night with Vikings Hot Takes. You can catch them at the halftime show for the Thursday night football game. Dave is with his buddy, 2 old bloggers, on Saturday.
Yep.
And I promise I'll be back this week for Vikings Final Score, or CTP Final Score. And then we restarted again next Monday, minus us. So for everybody in the chat who joined us tonight, thank you. Ryan, Dave, fantastic as well. I love the passion. We might need to record like a separate thing outside of here, just for like an extended cut, whatever. Because I know Dave could get going on some topics. So thank you both for joining tonight. And let's go into the bye week 500. What do you say, folks?
That's all I got.
I vote for it.
That's all I got. Dave, you always ask this for me, but what do we say?
Skull Vikings! Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.